Hi, welcome to DramaMeans. We're talking about the 2024 Korean movie Alienoid 2. Today, drama means sci-fi, drama means love across past and future, and drama means chaotic execution with a lack of substance.
First, for a little bit of a summary. A far advanced alien race uses human beings as hosts to imprison their most dangerous criminals. But when a jailbreak occurs, it threatens the lives of everyone on Earth. The only person with the ability to save the world as we know it is a child ripped from the ancient past.
But is she really from the past? Because she lived in the future.
Yeah, but in the first movie, right, she was born in the past, and she was taken to the future and raised by alien robots. And then she went back to the past and grew up there for like 10 years, and then was trying to get back to the future. See, this is the problem with part twos and like splitting a movie. Like, I'm pretty sure that's how it went in the first movie.
Yeah. This is basically essentially one movie, Alienoid 1 and 2. It's just like, imagine yourself watching a movie and you start it, and then you stop halfway through, right in the middle, and then wait 2 years to finish the movie. That, literally is Alienoid in a short form.
You mean Dune? Like the exact thing that Dune did, where they gave us Act 1 for 3 hours, and then we're like, come back in a couple of years. We got a good movie for you. Yeah, like that.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that's like, I don't get it. I don't understand why people can't tell a story in the allotted time that you're given. And then it's like people just plan on writing half a movie and then they're like, "Oh, we'll finish this later."
Well, it's this weird business we now find ourselves in where it used to be you would make a movie, and if that movie was popular, if you told a really good story with really intriguing characters, people would say, "Man, I want more of that." And then you would make a second movie that would also have its full and complete story. And now, were those movies always ever as good as the first one? There's very, very few that the sequel is better than the first. But now it just feels like they set out to all right, so this is going to be a 3-movie series, and we're just going to make the first one, and then we're going to stop the story halfway through, and then we're going to make the second one, and then we're going to stop that story partway through. It's just the way that they're made. It's like, wait, does this movie need 2 movies?
It definitely did not. So I do have to say, the first movie was actually decent, other than the fact that it didn't have any ending, and you're just like, okay. And then you wait 2 years to get the last part of it, and it was just a jumbled mess. It was like there was not enough substance for them to for it to be a complete movie, and they just added so much CG driven, overproduced bullshit.
Well, just filler. Because the first movie was enjoyable, but as we were watching it, I kept looking at the clock going, how are they going to wrap this up? How are they going to wrap this all up? There's too many things that need to be all sewn up. And the answer was they didn't wrap any of it up. They just were like, and we've hit the clock and now stop. Come back later for more movie.
Yeah.
Which pissed me off because the movie up until that point was kind of enjoyable. It was like a sci-fi romp with, a menacing bad guy and a young protagonist, and the comedy would kind of worked with the thunder and the dad both being played by Kim Woo Bin, and they both had drastically different personalities though, so he got to have some fun.
Yeah.
And it just kind of worked, except for they just forgot they needed to have a beginning, middle, and an ending to the story.
Yeah. I mean, that's essentially how sequels were. It's like movie 1, beginning, middle, end. Movie 2, the sequel, beginning, middle, and end.
Well, and then the reason, and now in this one, they have to basically give you a previously on at the beginning of this movie, because if you just drop me into the middle of it, I haven't seen the first one in 2 years. You can't count on the fact that I'm going to go rewatch it just because you say so. And so now you have to have this voiceover at the front to give context to anything that will happen in this movie, which just feels like, well, you haven't done your job. Because if you, in a really well crafted sequel, starting that movie from scratch will give you context. You'll introduce the characters again. You'll introduce the relationships again. You'll give us another beginning of the movie, so that if you haven't seen the first one, you don't feel like you're missing out. You may miss out on like the exact inside jokes, but you won't feel like I can't understand this movie. And without the previously on at the top of this second Alienoid, you would have no idea what's going on.
Yeah. And even with the previously on, I'm like, oh yeah, who are these characters again? Oh yeah, there were freaking cats. Like, it was just like reintroducing the characters, and you're like, I don't remember any of them. And no, we didn't go back and watch it. And I do have to say, it was at the theaters at CGV, and it was an option for us to go, and I almost like suggested it. We just kind of missed the time that it was at theaters, and I'm so glad we didn't pay the money to go see it. I mean, we rented it, which was like $4, which is a lot less than
what, 25, $30 to go to see the theater.
Yeah. So
I'm just upset with this new structure, like beginning, middle, then the movie ends, then you have a beginning and a middle. And I'm like, okay. And you're right. At the beginning, I was like, oh, wait. Oh, yeah, these cats are also humans. Right. They're following around. Like, there were so many things that just felt of the first movie that didn't need to carry into the second movie necessarily. But because they never wrapped anything up from the first movie, then it just all had to carry over. And you had to remember all of these characters and what their context was and who the good guy and who the bad guy and what all the motivations for these people. And then if that wasn't enough, they introduced kind of a new spin on what happened in the first movie, going back and having to go and revisit the stuff that happened in the first movie through Honey Lee's character. Now we have to like rewatch parts of the first movie to put her into context to see how she fits in. And then she's also a descendant of a character that's in the second movie. I'm like, who are all these people and how do they relate? And at a certain point, the movie becomes a jumbled mess of who gives a shit. Like, I just stopped caring what was happening. Like, I didn't even need exposition scenes anymore because I just didn't. I was like, yeah, I don't care. I'm just watching it now. I'm not going to get any impact of any of this. So we'll just wait till the end now.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, the main emphasis of this movie isn't the story, but all the CG and what they can do with CG and like the action packed, like over the top, tearing up buildings and trains and rolling over cars and all this stuff, right? But I have to remind you, like, building a story is a lot like building a building, like where you live in. And it's all about foundation and structure. And if you don't have the basics, your whole building's going to crumble. And this is exactly what this movie did. It just crumbled because it didn't have the foundation. Because the foundation is all in movie one, which we've already forgotten about because it's been 2 years. And so part two, which is supposed to be its own movie, doesn't have any foundation.
Well, and then with Honey Lee's character, her character doesn't even have any foundation for what's going on. The audience, if you remember the first movie, the audience understands, okay, so there's an alien jail inside of human bodies and there's an alien outbreak, and if this thing goes off, this red mist is going to cover the earth and kill everybody, and the aliens are going to take it. The audience knows all those things. Honey Lee shows up, and all she knows is like weird shit is happening that needs to be stopped. So she doesn't even have a foundation and motivation other than a very generic, well, I probably should stop this weird thing from happening. And because my ancestor also wrote me a note that said I'd have to save the world at some point. It was just, I have a really hard time when the characters don't really understand the stakes and the consequences for what they're doing. They're just kind of going with it. Oh yeah, get in this cop car and run and drive real fast with these people who are just randomly in your cop car with you now, who are dressed in old-timey clothes. Like, there's so many questions she should be asking. But it's kind of like, nah, ignore that. Just run from aliens. Go, go, go. And it leaves you without a nutritious bite of anything in this movie. It just felt like empty calories, the entire thing.
But not even like a delicious empty calories. It's like no gourmet donut. It is just junk. Like,
this is old popcorn without the butter. It's like day-old popcorn with no butter.
Yeah, exactly.
It's chewy. It's not tasty.
Yeah. So, as you can tell, we did not like the movie.
Which kind of sucks because I do think the first one was pretty solid. With, taking into account that the movie really didn't end, it just kind of stopped. But I really blame this structure of, well, we're gonna plan these two movies out, and then we're gonna bank on the fact that we're gonna make money on both of them. It's just nothing but like greed and making us trying to make us pay for one movie two times. And that's why I get so angry at things like Dune, where you made me watch a 3-hour movie that was literally should have been boiled down to like 17 minutes. It was act one. It should have taken 17 minutes, and then I watched the rest of the movie for one ticket. But instead, I spent 3 hours watching CG and pretty pictures. And then I had to come back and spend money all over again to actually get my story. Now you're just pissing me off. And I hate that idea. I don't think things should have automatic greenlit sequels and be automatic, oh, this is the new franchise. It's not a franchise until we all stand up and say, we love the first movie. Then you're allowed to make your franchise. Fuck you for telling me what a franchise is. The audience will tell you what a franchise is, motherfuckers.
Yeah. And the thing is with Alienoid, it's just they jam pack like big name actors in it, and then that's what's supposed to make the money, not the story. There are times when like these movies that have like really good story, and then they make the actor, and then the actor that was like maybe a no-namer becomes like a huge star. And at this point it's like, oh, we need to stick whoever is like, the biggest actor, the most popular actor in it, and not even like thinking about like if the story is actually good or not.
You notice they kind of jam in actors from all sorts of generations. Like they have the popular actor from the young generation to get the young crowd, and the popular actor for the little bit older generation to get the older crowd. So they're literally just, let's make a movie that everyone has to see because it has all of your favorites in it from, the 90s to the present day. But again, they're not doing anything interesting enough to warrant those actors even being in it. Like in the first movie, like we said, like Kim Woo-bin had a lot to do as an actor. He had to play these kind of fun parts. And Soji Sub was the bad guy, right, in the first movie, and he got to play all this kind of weird bad guy stuff. And in the second movie, what do any of these actors really get to play? It's just kind of run and chase and nothing. It was just kind of nothing.
Yeah. It was a lot of nothing with a lot of I use this analogy all the time, and I definitely think it pertains to this movie. It's like eating really like not fresh sushi, and then the restaurant or whatever like just drowns the sushi, the bad quality fish that they used, with a ton of sauces to cover up the fact that your fish is not that fresh. Because really good sushi and really fresh fish, you don't need all those sauces to cover up the fact that your quality is not good.
Well, they definitely I use a very similar saying, which is they put a lot of mustard on the hot dog. And I think this hot dog is all mustard. Like you keep eating it, hoping there's a hot dog there.
Uh-huh.
But it's just, and that's another thing that's wrong, I think, with the premise of this movie in general, is how many things they're trying to do. It's trying to be this father-daughter piece between the woman and the alienoid, the young girl and the alienoid. Then it's trying to be a sci-fi alien piece. Then it's trying to be a time travel piece. Then it's trying to be a period piece. Then it's trying to be a magic period piece. I'm exhausted. Pick a genre.
But if you do it well, it'll be interesting and intriguing. But because they didn't do it well, that it just seems messy and all over the place.
But I didn't think they needed the time travel element of this movie at all. This movie could be made 100% without the period piece part of it. The time travel was so unnecessary, other than, like, okay, now we're going to go back to the past and we're going to trap the bad guys in the past for another movie. That's it. You could have done that first movie without the back and forth, without the time travel. Like, let's make an alien movie. Let's make an aliens try to take over the world movie. And it's sci-fi. And there's good characters. And there's fun actors to watch. But it just was trying to be a little bit of everything, and it kind of turns into nothing. Like, all those flavors blend together to just be a bowl of bland soup that you just kind of watch on autopilot because, I don't know, it was almost offensive how assaulting on your senses it was with all of the CG and all the tentacles. Like, this director loved tentacles more than any director I've ever seen. It's just so much going on. I'm like, oh, my eyes are tired.
Well, yeah, and then like that like rollover scene where it's Honey Lee and then the two gods from the past, right, are in the back of this cop car.
Yeah, it's when she gets arrested and then they get arrested and they all end up in the back of the car together.
Yeah, and it like basically flies in the air, like rolling through the air and stuff. And just like how I feel like, first of all, we see this a lot, but to me, it takes away the effectiveness of a car crash.
Oh, absolutely. It slows the car crash down so you can get the camera inside of the rolling car because it's all done with CG and fake glass flying around and their funny expressions. It's like, no, car crashes are violent and dangerous. And it's like you've taken CG in here to give me shots that you wouldn't be able to do without CG. But then you've taken the magic of the car crash away. So now you get a fake car crash from the outside and a bunch of shots to slow the action down on the inside, which makes the car crash not cool anymore. It's just because you can achieve a shot now with CG doesn't mean you necessarily should. Like, sometimes you watch these old school effects and are so much more impressive because they just feel real because they are real. Like, a dude got in a car and rolled it 12 times and had to survive. And you can kind of feel it.
Yeah.
I do think that is what the draw of some of the, like, the John Wicks and, Tom Cruise and Mission Impossibles and the Chris Helmsworth one, the Netflix, The Extraction, like, they feel real because they're done by stunt people and not by computer technicians in a computer lab. And so you can just tell the difference when you watch one of those movies and you see a car smash into a building. You go, oh, I felt that. That hurt. Bone crunches. You just don't get that feeling when it's all CG. Now, another thing I want to say about this movie a little bit is I am not in favor of massive exposition scenes, but this movie did feel like they kind of needed some because it just felt like they were running at full speed the whole time and not putting anything into context except for the occasional, we've got to stop the thing, we've got 5 hours to stop the bomb. And it really felt like, especially with Honey Lee's character, it really felt like she needed to go, time out, what's going on? Someone explain this to me. And then to kind of have to recontextualize it for her and the audience that there's a reason they're doing all this running around and who the fuck these aliens are. And it was sort of like, no, just keep running, just keep driving, just keep going fast and ignore the fact that none of it really means anything. And I think one of the biggest problems is the problem they're trying to solve in the first movie is the same problem they're trying to solve in the second movie, is the red mist. So then you have this ticking time bomb that has to stay relevant for 4 hours of screen time and 2 hours of real time. 2 years of real time. We've been waiting for this red mist to go off for 2.5 years, and this fucking red mist is still in the machine. Like, God damn it, release the red mist already. I was praying for the end of the world.
Oh. So I actually was like, especially in this particular, movie too, um, the two gods from the past, it was so confusing to me because I wasn't sure whose side they were on.
Oh, I had no idea.
It's like, because they were fighting everybody. They were against the girl. They were against Muruk. And they were, and then all of a sudden they're like fighting together. And I'm like, wait, like, but I thought you guys were on the opposite side, and it just didn't like, I know by the end everyone's just fighting for their lives because these aliens are killing everybody, but like it was so confusing, and it's just like there was like no real understanding of like where everyone is and whose side people are on, and then like the misdirect of like Murok being actually the host of the designer, or and then it's just like I don't know. And I mean, we understood the movie. It was just very like a confusing way to execute it.
It was very muddled. And I think that's what I was touching on before, and I said it worse than you said it, which is not that I want exposition, but I want the characters to understand which side they're on, and then I want to understand. Like, I want that come to Jesus moment where the gods are chasing her and Muruk, and they get head to head and they realize, wait, we're not enemies. We're friends. Wait a minute, what's going on? Who is this guy? Oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Up until this point in the movie, I was your enemy. But actually, now that I know that, we can be friends. Like something that says, hey, we're an alliance now. Because even with the blind swordsman, like his character is confusing because he spends most of it chasing the young woman and the dagger because he thinks the dagger is going to cure his blindness.
Which it did.
But he's against her for most of it. And then as soon as his blindness is cured, he's like, I should write my future descendants and tell them to like help this girl save the world. You threw a sword at her 3 minutes ago, man. Like, what? Like, you just want things to go, okay, let's see that decision being made on screen with characters talking to each other and clear goals. And everyone's goal is so muddy. I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, everyone's goal is so muddy, so it all starts to mean nothing.
Yeah. But basically, I felt like watching a bunch of like chickens with their heads chopped off running around, like that was basically the gist of the movie for me, at least the second part of it.
Well, then at the end, they try to like suddenly pull on your emotions with all the goodbyes.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, wait, now you want to treat the characters like they have feelings?
Yeah.
Like now, 2 hours in? Sorry, and no way. And also, it's a fake goodbye, which drives me nuts. I hate fake goodbyes. Like, literally, it's like, oh no, I didn't even get to hold his hand because he got sucked back into the past. Nah, he'll be back in 10 minutes.
No, you know what it should have been, because so what it really should have been is like she's taking the torch, passed on by her dad, right? She is now the new enforcer, or whatever the title of that of Kim Woo Bing's like title is, right? Where she's now going to go past, present, wherever, and like imprison these criminals.
Yeah,
these
search these guys out and find them.
Yeah. So it should be her being able to travel through time however she likes. And so she can like easily go see Muruk whenever she wants.
Well, the ending is just so weird because she just goes home and lays in bed. And then he's like, maybe I can go back there. And then he does. I'm like, okay, why did you make me watch this whole like tearful goodbye? We've all sat there going, wait, so he doesn't have his cats. He doesn't have her. So he's got nothing. She doesn't have her dad or Thunder. And her best friend is now 10 years younger than her. So she's not going to be hanging out with her. She's got nothing. This movie's like a total bummer at the end.
Yeah.
We watched this for nothing. And then he's like, actually, I'll just go back.
But like, it's all solely, not really to be with her because we don't even get to see it. It's solely for a dumb joke of him like calling for a taxi.
Yeah, it's so, who cares?
Exactly. It's like, we don't give a fuck about this joke that you think is hilarious. It's not.
So I want to say something to filmmakers and writers out there. I think you really have to look at your craft, whether it's a movie because you're a director and whether it's a screenplay because you're a writer. Look at the first page and understand that that is a really important page. And that page says something about you as a writer, and it says a lot about your story. Then go to the last page and ask the same questions. Is this last page representative of who I am as a writer or a director and an artist? And is it representative of the story and the themes I just told? And if ending on taxi is who you are, okay, fine. That's your art, and I'll stay out of the way. But I highly doubt it. That joke can happen on page 35, on page 62. It can't happen on the final frame of the movie. Because to me it says, you don't know how to dismount. And you were just like, here's a cheap joke that no one will laugh at. It wasn't like people in the theater were just like, oh my God, what a funny joke. And they all just spit out their popcorn because they were laughing so hard. Like, it's a throwaway joke. It's stupid. So you just wasted the last minute of your movie. That's the taste you want us to have in our mouth for your film? Do better, man. Do better. So I have a question for you. One thing that bothered me right away, and I didn't understand why they did it this way until we went back and did those flashbacks and introduced Honey Lee and that whole runner. Wouldn't have it been better if the aliens were to have released the bomb in the present and killed everyone on Earth, so that the only way to win is to go to the past? Because their future is now gone. And the only way they can prevent that from happening is going to the past. Leaving that bomb still just sitting there while she monkeys around in the past for 10 years?
It's also, like, weird because, as, you know, like, whatever the rules are in their world, but, like, usually when you go to the past doesn't mean the present is on pause. And the only reason why it's kind of on pause and everyone's just, like, stuck in... It's like, that's not really how time works, but, like, I guess because you had that key to the thingy.
Well, they played it as they left and they came back in the same minute. Like, because she watches the SUV disappear into the portal, and then she looks up at the ship.
Yeah.
And then literally that's the exact moment they come back and have the final battle, pretty much,
Yeah.
of the whole movie. So, like, it's confusing because we're doing flashbacks to the present past. No, flashbacks to the past present, meaning our movie is existing in the ancient times, then we go to the modern times and flash back to the past events that already happened so that they can catch up to the current. You see why this gets muddy? See why this gets like
Yeah.
Why after a while I stop doing time travel math and I just go, who gives a shit? I don't care.
Yeah. But then that also means they could flash back to, or, like, you know, arrive into the future, but back before, like, say, before her dad died, or say before her, like, you know, all this stuff.
They
right?
tried to explain that with the little clock in the ship. Basically, like, it was locked into that exact time it left.
Uh-huh.
So they were trying to lock that in with rules, because, like, that's what Back to the Future is. He's like, okay, I'll give myself 25 minutes to get to Doc Brown before he dies.
Uh-huh.
So that way I can save him. I'm not going to go back to the same minute I left because he'd already been shot. So they tried to do that in Back to the Future.
Uh-huh.
And in this, I think they were trying to take that away from them, but it was sort of like, again, if you say so, who cares?
Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I hated it.
It was real bad. It was real bad. And I think I was a little astonished in how fast it got real bad. I was expecting, like, once I got into it and remembered the first one, that maybe I would forgive them and just kind of be on the ride, because the first one was kind of a fun ride. Yeah. It's not the smartest movie we've ever seen. It's not the best sci-fi movie, but it was interesting. I liked the characters. I liked seeing the interaction. So I thought that maybe give me a half an hour and I'll be okay with this movie. And then I just sat there and went,
yeah.
Oh, it's still on. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I was pretty disappointed because I did like the first one. So that's why we wanted to watch the second one. But yeah.
And it's not even like none of the actors are bad in it. Like they just don't have much to do that's interesting.
They're good actors. Like Kim Tae Ri is like really good, and Ryu Jun Yeol is like known for his acting. And then Kim Tae Ri, she was in a movie with Lee Byung-hun, something like Mr. Sunshine or something, and then she was in that like anyway, but she like got really popular for her acting, right? And so they are known for their acting, and they're, you know, all big names in the acting world. So I know why, you know, they were good. They're casted in the movie for a reason.
I think this movie has just got a little too big for its britches. Like, honestly. Like, I feel like the producers of this movie probably looked at this going like, oh, this is our Independence Day. Like, this is Korea's big sci-fi alien epic that can rival, and we're going to get our Will Smith, and we're going to get our Jeff Goldblum. You know, we're going to like get these big stars to be in this big movie. And they just forgot to make a movie. And Independence Day, one of the biggest summer blockbusters in the history of cinema, was one movie. It told a beginning, middle, and end in one movie. They did a sequel later. No one saw it. But the first movie was great, not because it set up a sequel, not because they're trying to get another $12 out of me. It's because they put a movie together that felt like a real movie with real characters and real stakes, and everyone came together to fight for the common good and blast these aliens off the planet. And the best speech by a president in all movies. I will stand by that. But I do feel like they kind of thought, oh, this is our chance. Big budget, big CG. Like, this is going to be our Independence Day. And then we're like, yeah, they got enamored by CG and aliens and tentacles and then forgot to tell a story.
Yeah. So I have a friend, and she, growing up, loved adding glitter, as much glitter as possible to her artwork. And she believed that there was no such thing as too much glitter. But then every time she turned in her project, there was just too much glitter on everything. And I feel like this director and writer decided that he wanted all the glitter in this movie. And that's all he cared about was the glitter. He didn't care about anything else. He didn't care if the picture made sense. It was just all about the glitter, and that is exactly what this is.
I love how we had so many visual metaphors today of like ways to put too much mustard on the hot dog, too much soy sauce on the bad fish, stale popcorn with no butter on it, too much glitter on the art project. Like, we really ran the gamut of like, how many more ways can we describe the fact that this was a bunch of nothing? It was a crab sandwich. like dressed up like a brioche bun with this. Like, no, crab sandwich.
We are like analogy
machine.
Yeah.
Metaphor machine.
Something like that.
Yeah, I like it.
Anyway.
I mean, should we just put this out of its misery and rate it already?
Yes. My rating is counting the minutes till the end, because I was literally doing that.
Same. Counting the minutes to the end. Way too early. Closer to the beginning than the end. I was like, man, I hope this movie isn't 3 hours.
Yeah.
It was a rough watch, and it shouldn't have had to been.
Yeah. Anyway. So our rec, I'll give you 2 recs. One is Independence Day, since we talked about it. It's an American movie. I forgot the year.
Old. 90s.
90s.
I don't remember.
And then, great news is that you don't have to wait any longer. FT Island's full album is out. It has been released July 10th. So go listen to their album. Their album is called Serious. Listen to all of it. Buy the album. Stream the shit out of it on whatever platform you want to, listen to. Spotify, Apple Music, whatever. Yeah. So FT Island, Serious, their newest album.
And Independence Day was 1996, which was, by the way, maybe the best year for movies in the history of movies. Just a side note. So I'm also recommending the year 1996.
Well, that does it for us this week. Thanks for listening. And we'll see you next week.